This is your complete DM guide to the Marauders of Windfall, a potential sequel to the Sablewood Messenger adventure, which I also did a DM guide for. The players are now level 2. If you are continuing that adventure, then the Whitefire Arcanist tells them that the ritual to enchant the Arkstone needs a little bit more work. She requires a rare component only found in Kinikozan Jags, if that's how you pronounce it. The party are booked on a royal airship called Windfall. It's the fastest Royal Navy ship. The normal security guards have been reassigned, so your players get hired as security. The PCs take in the view over the edge of an airship. 5 masts worth of sails around this place, the winds filling the sails wonderfully. There's the hum of a magical engine propelling the ship through the air. Captain Augustus Kane stands on the deck in a competent pose, his thick coat glowing with magic. The blue-white magic casting a light upon his scar from his eyebrow to his cheekbone. Now the captain's first mate, an orc known as Lieutenant Commander Kalis Shorehand, calls orders to the crew and smiles and nods at the other guests, some of who come up from the lower decks to also take in the view. Now the crew have been a bit lukewarm towards your players and have even told the PCs you cannot go down to the engine room level and below into the hold. You simply don't have access. As the time progresses, a shadow blocks the sun and then another. 2 wyverns dive at the ship, landing on opposite ends. So this scene needs to have crates, barrels, rigging and rope ladders, and all attacks from a high position will have advantage on the people lower. The wyverns use deadly dive, dealing 2d12 plus 4 physical damage, and knocking over all the very close targets. Those prone people are now vulnerable till their next act. They then use a fear action to crushing bite the vulnerable. That's 2d20 physical damage, and the target will need to mark an armour slot. Don't forget that these wyverns can fly up into the rigging too, and reposition themselves to keep the fight interesting. Use the wyverns only long enough for you to have an interesting scene. Let the players get the taste of a fight, and then consider the wyverns have had enough and fly off into the sunset. But as the fight unfolds, you can ask each individual player, describe some environmental things you interact with during this fight, or describe a scene or people's faces as they react to these wyverns in the fight. At the end of this wyvern battle, the commander steps forward and commends the PCs for that display of combat. He then will invite them to heal up and join them for dinner tonight. A short rest will ensue, which allows them to tend to wounds, cure some stress, and repair some armour. Now have your players describe how they prepare for this dinner tonight. They can gain a hope for themselves, but if they pair up with somebody else, they get 2 hope. Now nudge them to think about what will the talking points be today, what are the questions they'll ask the captain or the crew. Maybe have them roll a d20 and the highest person knows this knowledge. They've overheard a story about another pirate vessel led by a furbolg called Caliop Crimson. Now this book, called Sky Zephyrs, allows you to build out ships in a system agnostic fashion, and also has crews with stats and modular airship pieces with gold cost for you to fill out any further Sky adventures. Link in the description. You can then just skip to later that evening. A long table surrounded by crew fills the room's centre. Awards dot the walls, and Commander Kane stands at a desk near the end of the room under a stained glass window, uncorks a bottle, pours himself a drink before returning to the meal table. Now once seated, the PCs are expected to interact with the NPCs. You should make a good impression. You should join in the chat. Are they using the right cutlery? Do they eat in a suitable manner? Do they get too drunk? Now if they struggle to roleplay, you can play 2 NPCs talking to each other. Maybe use the captain and Kalis, or Melandra Silver, a dark-skinned elf who looks fraught, exhausted by the toll in which the ship's engine is playing on her. She twiddles with an astrolabe, which is a device to project a map that should lead to the treasure of a dead pirate, only she can't seem to function it. She needs someone with a better handle of mechanical devices. The crew will ask questions of the PCs, seeming curious, but really trying to get an angle on them. The commander will listen intently. Nothing is not overheard, even whispers. The captain puts whoever compliments him in his good graces, but the room quietens if any comments seem to critique the captain's persona or his ship and make him look bad. So you have to try and create a scene which comes to a dramatic end and gets the captains back up. You've got to allow them to roleplay so that you can say the opposite. Find a line of dialogue from your players where the captain seems to snap angrily. Well, I think you're wrong there. Well, I used to like those. Well, I didn't used to like those. And then another NPC will go, I think what my new friend here meant to say was, and smooth the situation over. The commander then laughs and says, quite right, and then raises his glass in a toast, putting everyone at ease. Then the alarm blasts, and Kalis yells, defensive stations! And the Windfall rocks lightly. So in that dinner conversation, you need to plant the seed of information about talk of the commander's recent promotion. After a successful battle against a pirate called the Crimson Cloud, at least that's what his vessel's called, and the Firbolg, as we know, is Caliop. Sadly, she wasn't brought to justice at the end of that last battle, and this is a frustrating loose end for our captain. So we have 4 features of the dinner conversation here. You can hear a fork drop, getting to know you, I don't care for your tone, or a magical puzzle. Maybe write yourself a couple more and try and drop them in. So after this alarm, outside on deck, it's apparent that a smaller, more nimble ship has thrown 3 grappling hooks over bars on the side of the ship. Some bulky crew pull the ship together while 5 other pirate boarders come aboard. The damage of an individual cutlass is 1d6, but with these 2 action tokens, they can do group attacks, like those skeletons in the last adventure I did. So on a success, that would be 5 damage from each pirate in that group. Introduce second wave, third wave if you need more cannon fodder, but that's all they are. They die when any damage is done to them. They're just meant to make the players feel heroic. Attacks from above have advantage, remember. So as a round or 2 or 3 unfold, finally draw the spotlight to a captain coming from the other ship, a Firbolg with red eyes. Nobody has to die today. Just hand over the prisoner and we'll be on our way. That should make the players wonder, what prisoner? Who is that? The Crimson Cloud Firbolg storms towards the doorway to the inner ship. Commander Kane blasts a bluey white bolt at the feet of the Firbolg. Get below decks and cut her off! He starts to run down, waving the players to follow, when the opposing pirates fire this net that traps the captain up against a wall. The players, as security, are supposed to now rush down and block these new pirates from entering. 2 levels down, Melandra Silva blocks a prison cell from the Firbolg and co advances. So when the attacking pirates come down, the players are kind of caught in the middle between Melandra and the Firbolg. What they're actually looking at is some sort of magical contraption, and then a freestanding metal cage with a weather vane on top. There's tubes and crystals all over it. Inside the cell stands a wild-born galapper, is that how you say it? In obvious pain, who is linked up by a headband and wristbands of wires. This is Del Pond, who pleads with the PCs to help get them out. Del looks sick and is being very truthful in saying she's pretty much being tortured down here, being used as a way to power this ship because they're an air elemental sorcerer. Now it's a standoff that you have to balance both sides through dialogue and why the players should take whoever's side. And it's the big choice of this game. You can sit back and wait for them to decide. If the players side with the Windfall crew, Caliop will try and disarm the nearest player while still pleading to have the prisoner, while Del screams from the prison another plead, and a fight ensues. But Melandra will do her best to just not get in a fight. Del is only on 2 HP, but Caliop has 6 health points and a difficulty of 16. Her cutlass is +3 for 3d8 plus 2 physical damage and deals stress for any attack under 23 damage. She can also move about quite coolly on this grappling hook. And ultimately the Commander Kane arrives with a big gun and points it at everyone. You've all seen too much. Now the blunderbuss action targets everyone in close range with shrapnel for 3d12 physical and adds an action token to the action tracker, as they are all dazed. If they aid Caliop and Del, have them invent obstacles that they have to get through, be it people pulling at them, crowds in the way, obstacles like boxes, crates, tables, chairs, so that as a group you sort of paint the picture of whoever's trying to get up and out. If the PCs understand that they're on the baddie ship, realistically, they'll have to fight their way to the Crimson Cloud. Windfall has 30 sailors and soldiers that they have to wade through. Use these as and when you like. You don't have to count to 30. You can put more in, you can take some out, just so the escape stays interesting. Now the soldiers can also use group attacks like the skeletons, and they too fall with any damage taken, so that's not a hassle for the DM. But then Kayla steps in up on deck with a navy tough by her side. 20 damage or less, dealt against this muscly orc, will also deal a stress point. Basically, whichever side the players take, a pirate fight will ensue. Both sides then, afterwards, want to race towards a treasure map. Now we know that it can be projected from this astrolabe. You can put that on a fallen body, like a captain I presume, or put it in a cupboard in the office of the captain here. So as rewards for this adventure, whichever pirate group they end up with, they can offer new weapons for one thing. You don't want them having to go through all this for very little reward other than a promise of treasure in the future. The next obvious session could be on the beach of a forgotten island or on a flying city full of, among other things, a casino run by a mafia. That is also available in my description. And the next session is open to you. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and supporting me. A potential sequel to the Sablewood Messenger. A potential sequel to the Sablewood. A potential sequel or continuation. A potential sequel to the Sablewood Messenger adventure, which I also did a DM guide for. Whew, nailed it. First try.